Alrighty, today we're going to be looking at graphing data. So when we get statistics or when we collect data, we need to know different ways of how to graph it. So you would have looked at this the other day, but we've got our types of data. So depending on the type of data, we can display the data in different types of graphs. So what this means is that if you look at, so you've got types of data, categorical, nominal. Okay, so if you have a nominal set of data, then so that might be, what is your hair color? And we take note of everyone's hair color in the class, and it's brown, it's black, it's blonde, it's red. That sort of data we can put in as a column graph, a bar graph, dot plot, and pie graph. So hopefully those things ring a bell to you, and we're going to go through a few of those today of how to do it. Okay, and then over here we've got numerical data. So when you have data that has numbers, so whether that's discrete whole numbers or continuous decimals or fractions, then these are the different types that you use. Now, most of what we're going to be moving into is going to be histograms and box plots. But again, today we're going to look at a few of these basic ones that you have done before. So dot plot, column graph, stem and leaf plot. So we'll look at those today. Alright, so before we create a graph, we use frequency tables. The reason for this is that it groups all of your data together so that you know exactly what you'll be graphing. So hopefully these ring a bell. So you can either have like your score, or that means all your different options. So for example, over to the right, your options here are movie types. So movie types, we've got action, comedy, drama, horror, animated. So potentially, we've asked the whole year 10 cohort, what's your favourite movie type? And we've got year 9 people like action, 14 like comedy, 7 like drama, and so on. Okay, so this is a frequency table. If you ever need to make one from scratch, I would do it like this one over here on your left. So what that does, especially having a tally, I find that really helpful, because if you have a heap of data, it's really easy to be, doing little strokes like this, tally, okay? So that when you add them up, it's very easy for me to be like, oh, that's 5. There were 5 people that, had red hair, okay? Potentially blondes, there was 15. And so you might be going through all the data right now and being like, yep, another blonde, another blonde, another blonde, and we've got 15, and so on. Okay, the bottom of the frequencies, so you add up all of these numbers and then you put your total here. So that's also important. All right, so one way we can show our graphs, our data in graphs, is by using column and bar graphs. Okay, the difference being column graph, we've got our columns so going up vertically, and bar graphs usually go horizontal, so go out. Some important things here, so must have, okay? You must have a title. You will lose points if you don't have these, okay? In your CATs and in your tests, especially in VCE. So a title, so this one, the title's up here, frequency of email services. Or the title here, favourite cartoon of Year 7 students. Then we've got label your axes and an even scale. Okay, so for this one, I've labelled that one email service, and this is our frequency. Okay, an even scale. This scale here, so that means our little number's going up. Okay, it's going up by 2s. All right, it's never going up like, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. It would be a problem if it was going, 2, 5, 8, 9, 10, 14. You can't just put any numbers you like. It has to be an even scale. So you can go up by 3s, you can go up by 5s or 10s, as long as it's even. Then you need columns of even width. So see, this one, all of these columns here have the same width. So that's really important. Even gap between each column. So very important for column and bar graphs that there's a gap. So the gap is here. Okay, don't make them touch, because there is a reason for that when we get into other graphs. And the first column begins half a unit from the vertical axis. Okay, another important one. I'll use a different colour. So what that means is that your first column, so our first column for this one is our Gmail. See how there's a gap here? Okay, it doesn't start from the axis, the vertical axis. That's really important. Even on the bar graph down here, there's a little gap. Okay, you need to make sure there's a gap there. So please make sure you do all these things for a bar graph. Okay, and remember you can look at the last slide for which kind of data you would use these for. All right, so here's some questions that you guys will be doing yourselves. So have a go at that from the information we've just looked at. Now we're going into grouped data. So grouped data, it's for graphing continuous data. Okay, so when you've got your types of data, you go to numerical and continuous. So sometimes for continuous data, we can use something called class intervals. So what that means is that when you have large amounts of numerical data, we can use a class interval. So we can group the data. Because if you look at like this data here, okay, I can see here that there's a whole bunch of different numbers and there's not really repeats of any of numbers. So in that case, you know, if I did a frequency table, I would only be getting one for each number, okay? Whereas if I actually group the data, I would start to get more of a frequency. So for example, this over here means numbers from 0 up to 10, but doesn't include 10, okay? So 0 to 9. This next one is from 10 up to 20, but doesn't include 20. So it's 10 up to 19. That's what that kind of means. And so if we look here, so there should be two numbers between 0 and 10 in this group of data. So if we look along, here's one, 1.4, that's one, and 4.5. Okay, so they're your two, so that's where this 2 comes from. Okay, so yeah, that's really useful when you've got a lot of data that doesn't actually, you know, the continuous data, the decimals, you're going to get lots of different numbers. So if you group them, you'll be able to use a frequency better. So when we've collected all of our data in class intervals, you can then make a histogram. Okay, so a histogram is used for when you have grouped data. Okay, from a grouped frequency table, you use a histogram. So the difference with these is that there are no gaps between columns. Because it's continuous data, we don't want any gaps between them because it's, you know, they're not separate. They need to stay together. So looking here, okay, there's no gaps. All of the columns touch each other. And that's exactly what we want. Okay. Then we have a number line forms the score scale. All right, so what that means is, see this, so we've got a class, so from 10 to 15, okay? That means along the bottom, so along the bottom of our thing score, we're going to have the bar going across 10 to 15. Okay, and because the frequency is 7, that's why our bar goes up to number 7. So frequency is on the y-axis, okay, and score is on the x-axis. Alrighty. How to make a histogram. So there's the video here you can watch, after this, so you can have a look at exactly how to make one. And then there's some questions here for you to complete by yourselves and send them to me when you're done. Okay, quite a few histogram questions. And this is the last one we're going to look at today, so stem and leaf plots. Pretty much what that means, I think hopefully most of you have seen what they are, but a stem is usually, so this column here, okay, looking at that, it has like, your base number, and then your leaves are kind of that, second digit or whatever it might be. So you've got stem and leaf plots must have a key to tell the reader what the numbers mean. So I look at this and I don't know if it means, so if I see 0 and 5, that could be 0.5 or it could be the number 5. So without my key, I don't know. So the key down here, says if I see a 1 on that side of the line and a 3 on the other side, it actually means 13. So if I was to start, now I'm not going to do it all because it's a lot of numbers, but start writing out the words. So I've got 0, 5. Okay, my first number would be 5. Then I've got 8. Then I look down, so we've got a 1 here and a 2 there. So that means it's going to be the number 12. Okay, and so on. So I'll have 13, 15, 17. Okay, next line, we've got 2, 0. So that makes the number 20. So if you had to write them all out, you would do it like that, and so on. Okay, so that's how you read a stem and leaf plot. And there's a video you need to go and have a look at how to do it. So yeah, there's some more things here. So you've got your tens and you've got your numbers on the other side. You've got a key, and so on. All right, so looking at some other data, making sure that when you get into the hundreds, you've got the number 10 here. Okay, so 10 and then you've got a 2, that would mean the number 102. All right, same for this one. So you've got the number 14 in your stem and then the number 5 in leaves. So that means it's the number 145. And then there's some questions for stem and leaf plot. Remember, if you don't finish today, it's okay. We've got tomorrow's class as well. So some more questions there. All right, we're going to leave it there. Good luck. Let me know how you go.